Donald Trump is threatening to sue Trevor Noah over a joke. And I'm confused because I thought Elon said that comedy is now legal. Not that Elon, who made a joke of himself begging to go to Epstein's island, is a good judge of what's legal. Last weekend started off with Don Lemon and other journalists being arrested for covering a protest in a church where the pastor is also an ICE officer. What would Jesus do? Am I right? Hopefully not buy 23 warehouses across 18 states to hold 80,000 people. DHS storing people and violating due process to make CoreCivic and Geo Group rich is not what we meant when we said we want affordable housing. Welcome to this week's State of Everything. I'm Maya May. We survived January, and I'm back with everything you need to know about the last 7 days in under 10 minutes if I talk fast enough. As of recording, the government is in a partial shutdown after Republican defections from Trump's agenda. Giving more money to the agency people are calling Trump's secret police isn't popular. In fact, Democrat Taylor Remitt just flipped a deep red Republican district in Texas that Trump won by 17 points. And since I promised to ground you in context, the book I'm reading this February is America on Fire, The Untold History of Police Violence and Black Rebellion Since the 1960s. And I learned about the 1968 War on Crime Act. It poured millions into police departments and prisons nationwide, laying the infrastructure for mass incarceration. Sound familiar? Trump's BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, is doing the same for ICE that the War on Crime Act did for local police. It's the same repression, expanded to include policing white people, now with tech. Happy Black History Month. We're all black now. This is your orientation. Don Lemon has been charged under the FACE Act and a law known as the KKK Act because it was passed in 1871 to fight the KKK. I kid you not. The charges stem from when Lemon covered an anti-ICE protest at City's Church. Lemon was doing the same job he's done for decades, covering news, but Pam Bondi called it a coordinated attack. The White House actually posted "When Life Gives You Lemons" with the chain emoji just days before Black History Month. Also arrested in the middle of the night, Georgia Fort, an independent journalist, also black. Friday afternoon, Lemon walked out of the federal courthouse with his husband, Tim Malone, holding hands. Released without bail, he said, "I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. The First Amendment protects that work. I stand with all journalists, and I will not be silenced." An interracial gay couple looking like a meet cute for Loving v. Virginia and Obergefell standing up to the Trump regime. Black History Month claps back. Black journalists refuse to be silenced. I wish Stephen Miller would shut the fuck up, though. The White House's narrative of Alex Pretti's killing collapsed last week. CBP's internal review contradicts everything the White House claimed. No mention of Pretti attacking officers, despite Noam calling it domestic terrorism and Miller calling him a would-be assassin. A video from January 13th shows Pretti confronting ICE agents who assaulted him, then kicking a taillight. Trump called him an insurrectionist. Now, to be clear, Pretti getting assaulted by federal agents kicking a car in frustration does not merit an extrajudicial killing. That only happens in places like Venezuela and in the US to black people, since you guys brought us here. DOJ opened an investigation but won't commit to releasing body camera footage, and footage from Pretti's phone nowhere to be found. The two ICE agents have been identified, not by the government, by ProPublica. They're Texas-based Border Patrol agents Jesus Ochoa and Raimundo Gutierrez. And this is why the Trump regime hates journalists and judges. Because after a judge's order, 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos, the cutie patootie in the bunny hat and Spider-Man backpack who was used as bait and kidnapped by ICE, is back in Minnesota with his family. Saturday, Judge Fred Beery ordered Liam and his father released, calling it ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas and condemning the perfidious lust for unbridled power. I'll give you a second to look up perfidious because I had to. The judge included a photo of Liam and Bible verses. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me," and Jesus wept. Republicans are making Jesus cry. January 6th rioters and fraudsters have been pardoned, while over 600 innocent kids have been ripped from their daily lives and placed in confinement with shitty food and apparently measles, which isn't that different than Texas and Florida public schools, especially now that Florida's Surgeon General just announced vaccine requirements. He's just going to ditch them altogether. Jesus is going to be dehydrated from crying. Protest pressure is leading to legislative results, which is why we protest. Congress remains deadlocked over DHS funding tied to ICE accountability. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer demanded 3 reforms: end roving patrols and tighten warrant rules, adopt a universal code of conduct for the use of force, and require masks off and body cameras on. He also used the F word, and I'm still laughing at that. 7 Senate Republicans joined all Democrats to block funding. Ted Budd, Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, Ashley Moody, Rand Paul, Rick Scott, and Tommy Tuberville. On Friday, the Senate voted 71 to 29 to pass 5 bills and a 2-week DHS stopgap. As of recording, the government continues to be partially shut down. Trump has nominated Kevin Warsh to lead the Federal Reserve, partly because Jerome Powell won't listen to him. Warsh is a 55-year-old Stanford and Harvard law grad, a former Fed governor in 2008, and a former Morgan Stanley mergers and acquisitions guy. The irony, Trump wants rate cuts, but Warsh spent years warning against them, and Tillis already said he won't vote to confirm him until the criminal case against Powell is resolved. The Fed's supposed to be independent for a reason. It's supposed to keep prices stable and people employed, not just juice the economy at the request of a failed president. Market response is mixed, and I'll be real. The only metric I want tracked is the real cost of groceries, energy, healthcare, and housing relative to how much we make. And I'm not the only one. A Fox News poll said 7 in 10 registered voters said Trump is not spending enough time focusing on the economy. But at least the DOJ finally released the Epstein files. 3.5 million pages of documents, plus 2,000 videos, 180,000 images. But apparently there's about 6 million files, so almost half are missing. Democratic Rep. Ro Khanna and Republican Rep. Thomas Massie, authors of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, are demanding answers. Sunday on Meet the Press, Khanna said, if we don't get the remaining files, then Massie and I are prepared to move on impeachment or contempt of court for Attorney General Pam Bondi. It's frankly one of the largest scandals in our country's history. There's a demand for elite accountability. Yes, the people want to get French with it. And if you know any data privacy Republicans or independents, let them know that DOJ shared American Social Security data on unsecured cloud servers and used it to analyze voter rolls looking for fraud. The whistleblower was right. Elon got our data, and he's trying to rig elections with it. If you thought you could escape all this drama with sports, well, the WNBA and NBA athletes are publicly condemning ICE now. So DHS's solution is to send these ill-trained assholes to the Winter Olympics for security. Milan officials have said ICE is unwelcome. And you thought you could escape into the music? Nope. At the Grammys, everyone from Bad Bunny to the Biebers spoke out against ICE. It's a vibe shift, and I think it will last because it cuts through the Trump regime propaganda. Sunday night at the Grammys, Bad Bunny opened his Album of the Year speech with, "Before I thank God, I want to say ICE out," and the crowd gave him a standing ovation. Kalani said fuck ICE, Joni Mitchell wore an ICE out pin, Shabuzi, who was a country star, said immigrants built this country, literally. Bon Iver wore an orange whistle. Becky G said fuck ICE on her nails, and backstage SZA said it's incredibly dystopian that we're dressed up and people are getting snatched up and shot in the face on the street. Olivia Dean said, "I'm the granddaughter of an immigrant. I'm a product of bravery, and I think those people deserve to be celebrated." To which Trump said, "Ugh," and called the Grammys virtually unwatchable. Sir, I think you mean your wife's documentary. Over 15 million people watched Bad Bunny say ICE out while taking home the Grammy for Album of the Year. He's headlining Middle America's favorite night, the Super Bowl. The GOP can't cancel the Grammys. They can't silence Bad Bunny, can't stop SZA from telling the truth backstage, or Billie Eilish from saying fuck ICE on live television. They can't stop Bruce Springsteen from releasing Streets of Minneapolis and playing at Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello's benefit concert in Minneapolis. The pop music-infused protest culture revolution we needed is here. The artists won't be silenced, and neither will we, even if Trump is trying to build camps for us, because joke's on him, I love camp. Meanwhile, Trump is so pissed off that America's artists hate him that he's closing his recently rebranded Trump Kennedy Center for 2 years for renovations. His poll numbers are dropping, and so are the temperatures. So stay warm and fuck ICE. I'm Maya May. Like, subscribe, comment, and thank you for watching. America, you got this.